Who's a baddie? I'm a baddie. Who's a baddie? I'm a baddie. Who's a baddie? I'm a baddie. I'm repeating this mantra that my roommate Emmy taught me back in our apartment in New York City around 4.5 years ago. Emmy would ask me the same thing. She'd be like, Emily, who's a baddie? I'd be like, I'm a baddie? She was like, no, like for real, who's a baddie? I was like, okay, I'm a baddie. She was like, come on, you can do better than that, Emily. Who's a baddie? I was like, okay, I'm a baddie. She was like, there you go. And like, I knew the word baddie, black woman use it as this term of like looking good and feeling good about themselves. But when I asked Emmy, where did you get this idea to start asking me who's a baddie? She was like, dude, I don't really know, like maybe a TV show or a movie or something. I was like, okay, well, I like it, so I'm gonna use it. So every day, those 4.5 years ago before I left my apartment, I would have one hand on the doorknob about to leave, and the other part of my body looking at the mirror directly across from my door. And I would say aloud to myself, who's a baddie? But was I always a baddie? Hell no, I don't believe that I was. I grew up in a town called Blandover. All right, it wasn't really called that. It was called Andover, and it was in Massachusetts. But let me give you just like a little visual of what it was like growing up there. It was the type of town where people all kind of wore the same type of clothes, and people were known for, you know, how much money they had, or what university they were going to go to, or what sports they excelled at. To me, it never really felt like it was just about who people were as people. I wondered to myself if people were hiding their authentic selves just to fit into this kind of bubble. I also wondered if I was doing a good enough job hiding who I truly was. In middle school, I started to realize I had crushes on girls. I would come home from middle school to my dad's apartment. My parents were divorced, and he would find me in my bedroom crying. And he would come in and he'd be like, Emily, like, what's the matter? Are you okay? Like, how can I fix this? How can I help? Like, you can tell me anything. I was like, Dad, I don't even know what's the matter. Like, I'm fine. Like, just leave me alone. Even if I knew it was wrong, I couldn't tell you, so just, like, go away. Like, I'm fine. He was like, oh, okay. So my dad eventually stopped asking me what the matter was. I eventually stopped crying, but the feelings I had never went away. Even though I knew people like my mom and dad probably wouldn't like kick me out of my home, my physical safety wouldn't be harmed, I didn't have anyone in my town of Blandover to turn to who was like openly gay that I could talk to about these feelings. So my whole 18 years growing up in that town, I just kept them to myself. I kind of developed these like superstitions, if you will, though, to help deal with or manage these feelings on my own. Like, I had this magic 8-ball, and I would ask it, am I gay? And I would shake it, shake it, shake it, and I was hoping for a definitive no, you're not gay, or at the least, reply hazy, ask again later. I was a goalkeeper in soccer, in football, right? So like, before every game, I was like, all right, if I win this game, if I stop these shots, I'm most certainly, definitely not gay. And with the little religious background I had, I would pray to God every night before bed. I'd be like, please, God, like, don't let me be a lesbian. I can't be a lesbian. Please, please, please. Well, the feelings stayed with me, and luckily I made it out of Blandover. I got to university at a school called UMass Amherst. I studied environmental science. And I get there and I see other people who are like holding hands and in seemingly like queer relationships, and they're gay and just like happy and seemingly fine. And I'm like, why am I still hiding this part of myself? So I decided it was time to accept who I truly was. And I started to feel this happiness I didn't know I was like missing out on. While I was feeling good about that part of myself, I was still super insecure in these other parts of who I was. Like in the classroom, my whole 4 years at university, I rarely raised my hand because I thought if I got called on, I was gonna look dumb, stupid, silly, weird. People were gonna look at me funny. I was gonna say the wrong thing, so I just stayed silent. I graduated from university and I moved to New York City. I'm living in this small apartment with 2 other roommates and we get along pretty well. It's during COVID, so I'm working part of the time from home and part of the time for this nonprofit out in the community. And I'm just kind of like this type of person who always has a running to-do list. And I'm like checking things off the to-do list. And even on the weekends, just constantly filling my plate, being like, what's the next thing I can do? Just continuing to run around. Because I thought that my worth and my value was based in my productivity. Through all this running around, I never actually stopped to slow down and feel how I was doing in my body until I was literally forced to. It was a fall day, the first week of October. I was working from home in my bedroom. I had the window open to let some of that like cool, crisp air in to cancel out the hot, stuffy air often found in my 4th floor bedroom apartment. I heard people talking on the sidewalk outside. I heard ambulance sirens because I lived right across the street from a hospital. I also remember I was wearing these blue jeans. They were this brand Page. I had thrifted them and I thought I looked so good in them. And I also had this like 3/4 length black blouse on with this white embroidery. That was also one of my favorites. It was coming up on my lunch break for work. So I was like, in my to-do list like mine, what am I gonna do in this 1 hour lunch break? I'm gonna cook some lunch for my roommates and I because I gotta make sure everyone's fed and happy. I'm gonna run across the street to the hospital because I'm going home to Andover for the long weekend and I have to get a COVID test to make sure I'm keeping my family's safety in mind. And maybe I can fit like one other thing in this 1 hour on my to-do list before I have to like rush back to work to hop on a meeting. So it gets to my lunch break and I head into the kitchen. I turn on my gas stove. I put a pot of water on the gas stove to get it boiling for some pasta. I reach above my gas stove to put some frozen spinach in the microwave above it because I'm like, it's gonna take too long to cook on the stove. A couple minutes in, I hear the beep beep indicating the spinach is done. And now I have like so many things going on in my head, so I'm not really thinking as I take my next step. I reach above my gas stove to grab something out of the microwave above, and I start to smell something burning. So I look at the bowl of spinach from the microwave. It doesn't look burnt. I smell it. Doesn't smell burned. And all of a sudden I start to feel this heat. And I look down and I'm like, oh my God, like my shirt is on fire. I have never experienced anything with fire in my life before. And like all I can do is I go into survival mode and I can just think water. I turn around and turn on my kitchen faucet and I'm trying to reach my black blouse to the water from the faucet, but it won't reach. Then I run 5 steps to my shower and I'm trying to turn on the shower, but in my shock, it won't turn on. So then I run back out to my kitchen area where I just was, and at this point the fire is creeping up towards my face and I'm not sure what to do. I feel like I'm gonna die if I don't do anything, and then so I just scream for help in a way I never have before. My roommate Emmy comes rushing out. She sees me on fire and she's like, Emily, get in the shower. I say it won't turn on. She's like, all right, stop, drop, and roll. So I get to the ground. Emmy runs to turn on the shower. It turns on. She's like, all right, Emily, it's on, come on. I run to the shower. I jump in. The fire goes out. At this point, Emmy has called 911. 2 first responders arrive, and they find me on the bathroom floor with a wet towel Emmy has placed around me to help with some of the burns. I look at these first responders. I'm like, I know that my legs aren't burned right now, but I just feel so like nauseous and dizzy. I don't think I can walk down the stairs into the ambulance. Like, I feel like I'm going to pass out. They're like, all right, we're going to put you in this wheelchair and carry you down the 4 flights of stairs. I get in the wheelchair, and they're carrying me down the stairs. I look down at my body. The bottom half of my shirt is completely burnt off. The part that is still on me is just kind of seared to my skin. I get in the ambulance, and another first responder asks me a question I'm going to get asked hundreds of times in my recovery. He says, "What is your pain level on a scale of 1 to 10? I pause for a second. And I say 9. Because I'm hoping I will never feel more pain than I'm in those moments. But I can't be certain I never will feel more pain than that. It turns out I would most definitely feel more pain than that day. I get to the hospital and a nurse tells me, "Emily, you have burns on over 30% of your body. A large part of them are 3rd-degree burns, meaning they cut beneath the fatty layer of your skin. You're going to be in the hospital for quite some time. In order for your body to heal, you're going to go through these daily bandage changes to keep your skin clean, lots of skin graft surgeries to replace the damaged skin, and hours of occupational and physical therapy." I'm like, okay, like, not really knowing what that all meant. I quickly learned. Every day, a nurse would come into my hospital room to administer these bandage changes. I had bandages on my arms, my hands, my sides, my back, my neck. They would slowly take off the bandages because, the 1, 2, 3 rip method isn't really a thing. And they would give me this like potent medication that I thought would take away from the pain, like fentanyl and morphine, but like really, this just gave me a head rush from like my stomach all the way to my head. I listened to music as well, but really this was just a distraction. I felt every moment of these bandages, them taking off the bandages, washing my skin, reapplying ointment and new bandages. Also, in the hospital, I quite literally felt like an object. Like, these medical students would come into my room and they'd be like snapping photos of me. And then the burn surgeon would turn to these students and be like, "Now, you see how Miss Hespler's like left flank is a bit raised. Now we're going to have to fix that flank." I was like, "Hello, like I'm over here. This is just my side. Like, talk to me. Like, what are you saying right now?" I also remember looking down at my body after a skin graft surgery where they took skin from the part like my legs and my butt, which weren't burned, and put it on places like my arms that were damaged and needed this other skin to heal. And as I looked down at my arm after this skin graft surgery, it reminded me of like a Picasso mosaic, just like this square slab placed loosely on my skin, held on by just like staples. I thought that I was gonna throw up as I looked down at my arm. So I made a promise to myself to try not to look at my skin when I was in the hospital. 2.5 months after I entered the hospital, my burn surgeon cleared me to go home. I still had some open wounds on my back, but other than that, I was okay to continue my healing at home back with my family in Andover. And as I was heading home to Andover, it was a week before Christmas. And that's really when my healing began. I'm in my living room of my childhood home, and my mom's sitting on a couch on the left, and I enter, and I'm like, "Mom, can you help me take a shower now?" She's like, "Yeah, of course, Emily. Let's go upstairs." We head upstairs to the shower. I turn on the water. I'm like reaching my hand in to make sure it's the right temperature. While it's getting warmed up, I turn to my mom like, hey, can you turn on 070 Shake? This was my favorite artist at the time that I knew was kind of going to boost my mood and distract me from the pain that was going to come. She turns on the music. I reach my hand in the shower again. It's about the right temperature, so I'm like, Mom, I'm going in. I step in the shower. My body is not yet hitting the water. And I know I have to get these open wounds on my back wet, but I also know it's going to sting so badly, so I'm just kind of like pumping myself up, working up the courage, taking my time. My mom's on the other side of the curtain. She's like, you can do this, Emily. You got this, Emmy. I start talking to myself. I'm like, you got this, Emmy. Come on. You can do this, Emily. I start saying, don't fear the pain. Don't fear the pain. Don't fear the pain. Step back out. Trying to listen to the music. You can do this. Every moment just stings. I continue like this for about 5 minutes. I'm about done after that time, and I say to my mom, hey, you ready with the towel? My mom had gotten to safely heating a towel above the radiator for me to keep it warm. She responds again, yep, I got you, Emmy. So I was like, all right, I'm coming out. Turn off the water. Step out of the shower onto the bathroom floor. My body is now visibly shaking because with my scars, they're not yet acclimated to these changing temperatures. So my mom quickly grabs a towel, wraps it around me, rubs me, takes off the towel. I'm looking at myself in this big mirror, trying to get to know this new vessel I'm in. As I'm doing this, my mom starts to apply special ointment to the open wounds on my back, lotion to keep my skin from itching so much, and some more bandages. As she's doing this, my song comes on by 070 Shake, and I'm kind of like nodding my head along to it, and I start singing, you can't scream loud enough, no, I don't know if I'll be here tomorrow, tomorrow. I'm like, come on, Mom, sing it with me. I don't know if I'll be here tomorrow. Let's dance a little, Mom, here we go. I don't know if I'll be here tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. I don't know if I'll be here tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. I don't know if I'll be here tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. My mom and I continue like that for about a month. I find it so easy in those moments to feel the love she has for me. I see that joy can beautifully coexist alongside the pain. If anything, the joy is amplified because of the pain. I have to say goodbye to my mom, though, and she has to let go of me because I have to continue my healing back on my own. I'm back in my apartment in New York City, and I'm looking at myself in one of those full-length mirrors that goes above my closet door. And again, just trying to get to know this new body I'm in. Every morning and every night, I put lotion on my scars, again, to keep them from itching so much. And I see my scars evolving. I notice all their intricacies. As I see them changing, I'm trying to emerge into this new body and connect with myself. As I'm trying so hard to connect with myself, I'm still feeling these extreme moments of disconnection. Like when I talk to friends and family, at these moments I can't control, I'll feel these sensations. It will start off as this like uneasiness in my stomach, this tension in my throat, this buzzing in my head. I'll get this glazed over look in my eyes. And I'll feel like my soul is drifting out of my physical body, and it's like I'm looking at myself from above. And the same thing happens when I look at photos of myself from the first 23 years of my life. And I see the physical differences in these photos. I don't have scars on my body before. Yet, it's something else that is creating these sensations for me. It's the fact that in my mind, there's now two Emilys. There's the Emily before my accident, and there's the Emily after my accident. And I'm not sure how to connect the two Emilys. I'm not sure who I am in those moments or who I'm going to become. As I'm trying to figure out how to connect with myself and manage these like out-of-body feelings, I'm just going through these new motions as a burn survivor. One of the things I get to do as a burn survivor is wear these very fashionable items called compression garments. Now, up until this point, my only idea of compression garments were like those older adults on airplanes wearing those stockings to help with the swelling in their legs, or maybe like runners wearing, again, like very tight socks. But my compression garments were like this whole suit, almost like this scuba suit material, super tight. It started off as this like blue jacket that had a zipper on each arm, a zipper up the middle that went to kind of like the center of my neck. And I had these like blue leggings, kind of like this mesh sporty like material that went below my knee. And then these tan gloves, almost like driving type gloves. And the best part, I chose butterflies for this, was this exact headpiece. I chose butterflies. I was like, oh, like I'm emerging as something else, who knows? But I couldn't help but laugh as I had to put it on. I went around my head like this. And again, just like laughing at myself through these moments. But yeah, as you can see, like super, super fashionable. But I did the best I could with these compression garments because my occupational therapist, Stephanie, told me, Emily, these compression garments are gonna help like smooth out your scars, flatten your scars a little bit. So you're gonna be like more flexible and moving like back to normal again. I was like, that sounds great, Stephanie, like sign me up. She was like, but in order for these compression garments to have those healing effects, you need to wear them close to 24 hours a day for up to a year, if not more. I was like, you're joking, Stephanie, that's so long. These are so like tight and itchy and hot. Like, how do you expect me to wear them for that long? She was like, I know, Emily, like, it's a long time, but like if you want to heal, trust me, these are gonna help you. I was like, okay, I'm trying to do the best I can. I want to be dedicated to my healing. So I wore these compression garments everywhere. I wore them to work. I wore them in the hot New York City summers. I even wore them on first dates. And like it kind of became like my like Superman suit. I was like flying around in them. It gave me this ability to see myself differently because of how like different I looked in them. And I started to get questions from people who were seeing me differently as well. Like in stores, people would be like, excuse me, sir. And I'd turn around and they'd be like, oh, sorry, ma'am. They were confused a little bit about my gender because these compression garments flattened my chest, and I had cut my hair short for the first time since I was a kid to keep it off my neck. And as I started to get perceived differently on the outside, I started to reflect on how I actually felt on the inside. I knew that I was queer, I like loved that part of myself, but in terms of gender, I never really like thought too much about it, too deeply about it. Like, I was just like, oh, I was born a girl. Like, people tell me I'm a woman. That like must be like what I am and how I have to feel about myself. But then I reflected back to like myself as a kid, like pre-high school. And I remember people called me a tomboy a lot. And I didn't know what that meant exactly, but I knew that like I was pretty good at sports and like I loved PE class. And I also like basically every day I wore these like Michael Jordan type basketball shorts, like below the knee. And they were like one of my favorites. And I just felt like so free and happy in them. But then like before high school, like I started to get these like comments from people like, oh, Emily, like maybe you shouldn't wear those shorts in our family photo. And you look really good in like makeup and skirts. And I was like, oh, maybe that's what I should be wearing. So I just kind of like shoved those shorts to the back of my drawer. And I didn't think about them and like who I was kind of until I'm in these compression garments. And I like check out my closet as I'm wearing these compression garments. Like all my clothes are from before my accident. It's like these dresses and floral blouses that I would wear for work. I'm like, I think it's time I get some new clothes. So I head to Goodwill, like my local charity store. I'm in the boys section for Goodwill and I'm like going through all the clothes and I spot this shirt. It's this yellow collared shirt with these 3 blue stripes across the chest. And I put it on over my long sleeve blue compression garment. And I look at myself in the mirror at that Goodwill. And I'm like, who's a baddie? And I'm like, I'm a baddie. And this instantly becomes one of my favorite shirts. Like I wear it all the time. I often pair it with glitter. Just like this perfect combination to me. And I continue to choose clothes that make me feel good about myself. And just get to express myself in new ways. I kind of have these like worries about gender too, and I'm still having these like kind of like feelings of floating outside my body that I'm not sure how to deal with those or why I'm feeling those. After my accident, I get a new roommate. We become pretty good friends and talk a little bit about everything. And he happens to be a trans man and feels comfortable sharing about like who he is as a man and his gender. And I feel comfortable sharing some about like my worries that I'm having right now with him. I'm just like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like there's all these different pronouns and like, I don't know how I fit into them. Like, maybe I'm not a man or a woman, but somewhere in between. But like, what if I say I'm something and then down the line I change my mind and I'm wrong? Like, what if I'm just using this as like a way to cope with what I went through and like, I don't even know. And he slows me down and he's like, Emily, you are allowed to explore your gender and you're allowed to change your mind. I was like, oh, okay, well, thank you. So with that, I continue to wear what feels best for me. I start to use they, them pronouns with my family and close friends, even though it could never fully express how I feel about myself. To me, it's a beginning, it's a start, because I just feel like me and I feel like Emily and I feel like those words represent that to the outside world. I still question myself a lot during that time. I'm like, what gives me the right to start asking people who have known me my whole life to start using these new words for me? But those voices die down because I feel happy and I feel connected to myself and I feel free. And isn't that the point? Well, I'm feeling these moments of connection. I'm still feeling like there's two Emilys. Like there's still this 23-year-old Emily who had just moved to New York City, and there's this Emily after my accident who's like trying to figure out who they are. And I want so badly for those two Emilys to connect and for me to feel just like one person. But I'm not sure how exactly that can happen. So again, I'm just like trying to live my life and try new things to help me connect with myself. The next thing I decide to do is sign up to start training for the New York City Marathon. Kind of a wild idea for me because up until this point I hadn't run more than 2 or 3 miles, maybe the occasional what my town calls the 5-mile turkey trot on Thanksgiving Day. So as I'm going out for my first training run, I'm like, I'm just gonna see how far I can go. And it's the early morning and I see other runners outside. I'm like, cool, like some other people are gonna be joining me on this training journey. And then I hit Central Park, New York City's biggest park, and there's even more runners of all ages, all ability levels, just out there running alongside each other. I hit my first hill in Central Park, and I'm like, no big deal, like I got this, I'm running up the hill. And then I hit the middle of the hill, and I start to hesitate and slow down a little bit. Like I'm hitting this wall, and I hear these thoughts in my head, like, Emily, go home, like, who do you think you are? Like, why are you even training for this? Like, you really think you can do this? Like, take the train home. I'm slowing down even more and more. But then this other voice comes into my head, and it's the mantra my roommate Emmy taught me after my accident. I start saying it to myself aloud on this hill. I'm like, who's a baddie? I'm a baddie. Who's a baddie? I'm a baddie. Who's a baddie? I'm a baddie. And I make it over the top of that hill, and I run that day 8 miles, more than I ever have in my life before. I continued training for the marathon months before the race day itself, often in the hot summer, just like super fatigued, my mantra working overtime to get me through those moments. While I'm training too, I'm still going through occupational therapy, physical therapy, and some outpatient surgeries. So I'm just giving myself some grace as I'm running and training. Oftentimes I come back crying from these runs too. I'm not sure exactly why that is, other than maybe I'm processing some of the pain that I went through in the hospital. But I keep training and pushing myself because I want to show myself my strength, and I don't want to be defined by what happened to me. I keep going and going and going, and finally, 1 year and 1 month after my accident, I crossed the finish line of the New York City Marathon. And in those moments, I just feel so alive. I'm like, I just got through my accident. I just finished a marathon. Like what's next for me? I go back to school to study something called recreation therapy, because I've seen how running has helped me connect with myself and feel confident in who I am. And I want to help others who have gone through difficult life circumstances just enjoy life and feel confident in themselves. I also get involved with an organization called the Phoenix Society that helps burn survivors. I become a peer supporter, so I talk to burn survivors who are just leaving the hospital on the phone or in person. And oftentimes our conversations go a little something like this. They'll be like, Emily, like, I don't want to show my face in public, like, with these scars, like, people are going to look at me differently, and, like, I'm in just so much pain right now, like, there's, like, nerve pain I have and itchiness, and, like, I just can't do anything I could do before my accident, and, like, I don't know anymore, like, what to do. And I just tell them, like, as best I can, like, I know that it sucks what we went through, and, like, try to focus on how far you've come, like, you're not in the hospital anymore, and your progress might go up and down, but you're still moving forward. And, like, is there anything you can do to, like, even just for, like, an hour a day to help you enjoy life? And, like, this is what helped me get back to my life. I don't know if what I say like, helps them, but, like, I know there's a connection between us just because we went through similar experiences, and that feels good to me to finally connect with some other burn survivors. At the same time, though, I kind of feel, like, still alone in my feelings, because I don't open up completely to these other burn survivors. I'm like, oh, like, they're just out of the hospital, I don't want to, like, burden them with my feelings, and I'm still having this, like, dissociation, this, like, floating outside my body, and, like, I start to get stares and questions from people in public, like, hey, like, what's on your neck, what happened to you? And I just kind of blurt out what happened, even though I don't want to, and I don't know who to talk to about these things, so I just keep them to myself. And I feel like maybe I'm, like, focusing on the running and the going back to school to let people think that I'm okay, but really I don't know if I am. It reminds me of being that kid again in middle school, crying and then pushing those feelings down to show people that they weren't different because they thought they might not understand. And I don't know what to do with these feelings. But then I get this opportunity to attend something called the World Burn Conference. And if you're a burn survivor, like, you know about this, it's the biggest gathering of burn survivors around the world, a chance to connect with other survivors and just share resources with one another. I get to the conference, and it's right outside Washington, D.C., and I see other burn survivors with scars like mine and those with more hidden scars, and they're just all talking to one another and, like, seemingly friends, getting along. And I want so badly to, like, go up to them and just, like, introduce myself and, like, see maybe if we felt like similar things after our burn accidents. But I don't know, I just find myself, like, isolating myself from them. I'm like, they're from the West Coast or the Midwest and I'm from the East Coast, and like, am I really gonna get along with them? And is that what I really look like right now? And I don't know what to say to them exactly. Kind of like Frozen, like that kid in the classroom who was too scared to raise their hand because they were gonna look dumb, silly, stupid, say the wrong thing. So I hardly say a word to another burn survivor that first night at the conference. I wake up the next morning though, I'm like, come on, Emily, you came all this way, like you can do this. I check out the conference like breakout room sheet, and I'm going through the list and I see one, and it's LGBTQ breakout room. I'm like, what? Like, how niche? Like, as a queer person, this is an easy entry point for me to go talk to some other survivors. I get to this breakout room and it's a bunch of people just sitting around in a semicircle, and we talk for an hour about being queer and being burn survivors and any intersection of the two. At the end of the hour, we're feeling pretty close, and we're all like, what's your number? Like, let's keep in touch. And this guy who's been to the World Burn Conference many times and lives in DC where the conference is, he's like, guys, like, we've got to go out to like a queer bar, queer club before the conference is over. So we're like, yeah, like, let's do it. He's like, all right, 10 p.m., let's meet at Bunker. We're like, sounds like a plan. We go our separate ways, and before I know it, it's 10 p.m. and I'm walking into Bunker. I spot my other fellow like queer burn survivors, and the guy who made the plan, he's got his shirt off and he's in good company because a bunch of other like gay ripped men just like dancing around doing the same thing. We all dance for what seems like hours, just like with the lights all around us, music, having a good time, looking out for one another like normal friends would. It gets to a point in the night where I feel super hot. The thing about burn survivors is in these areas you see these scars, we can't sweat as effectively or at all. So it's kind of like my inner air conditioner is working at a 30% less capacity than the average person. So to cool down, I'm like, should I step outside? Should I grab some water? But it's like a tightly packed club, so I don't want to lose the people I'm with. I'm looking around, I'm taking in like the whole scene of the club, and other people have their shirts off. I'm like, damn, like, do I look that hot? Like, what do I look like right now? Like, what do people think of me? Taking this all in, getting hotter and hotter by the second. I'm like, I need to do something. All of a sudden, I'm just like, fuck it. And I take off my shirt and I keep dancing, and the song comes on. It's like, oh, I want to dance with somebody. I want to feel the heat with somebody. Yeah, I want to dance with somebody who loves me. Yeah, I want to dance with somebody. I want to feel the heat with somebody. Yeah, I want to dance with somebody who loves me. I love those moments, and I want to keep dancing like forever with my other queer burn survivors who are now my friends. But the club closes, of course, and we got to walk home or back to the conference center all together. And we start walking back, and one of the girls from our group, she runs up to me, and she's like, Emily, like, I just want to tell you something. Like, the way you were dancing in there, the way that you were so confident and free in your own skin, like, makes me want to be more confident and free in my own skin. I just take this all in, and I look at her, and she's a firefighter with burns on her forearms. I know she's powerful. I just tell her, thank you. And with or without scars, you're beautiful. We hug goodnight. In those moments with my dancing and with this other survivor, like, telling me thank you, I feel connected to myself. And I feel seen finally for who I am. And I want to keep being me. Presently, before I leave my apartment, I look at myself in the mirror. Put on some more glitter, of course. I ask myself, who's a baddie? Even though now, most days, I know I am, I still think it's fun to repeat back, I'm a baddie. I think that there's a baddie in all of us, right? We're just out here trying to live our best lives. And before I leave here today, because it's so fun to say and because we are all baddies, I'm going to ask you guys, who's a baddie? And I need you to repeat back, I'm a baddie. Think you can do it? All right, let's hear it. Who's a baddie?
I'm a baddie.
Louder. Who's a baddie?
I'm a baddie.
Last time, even louder. Who's a baddie?
I'm a baddie.
Woo!